Ladies and gentlemen, here are Mike Mosich and Tasha Greinland.
Well, good morning, and thank you for taking time out of your day to watch today's presentation. I'd also like to thank Grain Journal for hosting, and of course, our friends at Electrosensors for teaming up with us today for this. So the presentation today is going to cover our bin, silo, and tank inventory monitoring solutions. Going to be a good deal of focus on the options available for viewing the sensor data, which would include our cloud-based offering, BinView. We've developed a number of modules that cut down on the wiring needed and have really simplified the installation process. I'll spend some time talking about those interfaces as well. So a little bit about BinMaster. We are a division of Garner Industries, which was founded in 1953. We started producing the BinMaster product line in the late 1960s. Located in Lincoln, Nebraska, we also do custom plastic injection molding and CNC machining. And we've never been more thankful for that in-house manufacturing capability, especially, given the number of supply chain issues that we hear about on nearly a daily basis anymore. So not only does that help with, keeping the costs down and good quality for our BinMaster components, but it's really helped us here as of late, like I said. So I'd imagine these images look familiar to many of you, climbing a bin and dropping a tape measure to get an idea where your inventories are. We would love to help you put this in the past. And here are some of the problems that many of you, of course, are familiar with and that we hear from our discussions in the field. Of course, there are times during the year it's just simply unsafe to climb up onto your bins and silos due to weather. And manual measurements can be inaccurate. I wish I had a dime for every time I heard from a plant manager or maintenance manager that, they could send 3 people to the top of the bin and get 3 different measurements. So manual measurement game is a little more art than science. Also can be time consuming, especially for larger facilities with many vessels, and it gets expensive since time is money. So let's talk a little bit about the structure and simplification. Or I guess I'll just talk since I'm the only one that's not muted right now. Anyway, we have various sensors that will measure your bin levels. I'll talk specifically about those sensors in a few minutes. But we can send the sensor data to the cloud via an Ethernet connection, a cellular data plan, or through a Wi-Fi connection. The data can be accessed using a phone, tablet, or PC. And also thanks to the development of thanks to the efforts of our great development team, we're able to send data to several different locations. For example, you may like the idea of being able to check your levels on your phone while you're away from the plant, but truck drivers or plant personnel need a local display, or maybe they view the inventory information in a plant DCS or PLC. We can make that happen. We can get that data to all those locations. So why simplify? You'll have accurate information at your fingertips that is safe and secure. You may not need the IT department or local servers. And as we roll out upgrades, they'll be provided at no cost. And you might be surprised to know that we can offer this for as little as $42 per year per bin. My Big Ten math tells me that's just under 12 cents per day. So here are a few screenshots from our BinView site. And just to clarify here, we refer to our cloud-based platform as BinCloud. And then within BinCloud, we have industry-specific offerings. For example, we have CementView for the cement and aggregates world, FeedView for remote feed bin monitoring, and ResinView for our plastics producers. So for today, I'll refer to the site kind of under the catch-all term of BinView, just to simplify things a little bit. So back to what you're seeing on the screen here. At a glance, you can see your inventory levels, obviously. You'll notice that some of the bins are green, some yellow, and some red. You're able to set the critical levels in BinView, so those that are close to critical levels or reorder points are yellow, and those that are needing immediate attention are coded in red. You can see, like I said, off to the left there, you got your yellow, red, and green, depending on the vessel. The screenshot at the right is some propane tanks, and this brings up a good point too. We do have the ability to measure liquids as well. So if you have propane, maybe you have some fat tanks, things like that, we do have the ability to measure those as well. So BinView produces email and text alerts, again, once you get to those critical levels that you have the ability to preset. You know, they're most commonly used for notifying when your bins are at low or critically low levels and you need to replenish or reorder. And on a related note, we have a local or a land-based software that's called BinVentory. Now this gets a little confusing, BinView versus BinVentory, but BinVentory is a great option if you don't need the 24/7 remote access when you're away from the facility. BinVentory can be viewed on a single PC or multiple PCs on your local network. It also has the capability of sending email alerts, but unfortunately not text. And I'm not going to spend a great deal of time on BinVentory today, but I just wanted you to know that it is available if you're just looking for something on a single PC or on your local area network. So multiple sites can be monitored using BinView, as you can sort of see here. It's kind of small, I apologize for that. But the site's very customizable. You may have users that need to see all bins at all locations. For example, like corporate accounting or finance. Others may need to see only their site or a handful of sites, so we can customize that accordingly and give various user permissions. And you have the ability to track historic data in BinView. Here you'll see the trend that can be accessed from the summary screen. This is a nice feature. It's certainly easier to pull up a graph on Monday morning, as opposed to climbing the bin on the last day of the month at midnight, which might be a Saturday for all I know. So it's easy to go back and pull this information. It's always going to be at your fingertips, away from the plant or in-house. Okay, now on to some of the sensors that are used in grain measurement. We most commonly apply the Smart Bob, the NCR80 radar, and the acoustic 3D level scanner for grain measurement. The Smart Bob is just a fancy automated tape measure that measures in a single point. The NCR80 is a non-contact, non-mechanical option for single point measurement. Now that said, you can use multiple Smart Bobs or NCR80s in a single bin and average or do a weighted average of the readings in the software. Now the 3D level scanner is an acoustic technology that maps the material surface to produce an accurate volume measurement. It's taking multiple measurements into account. And as the image shows to the right here, we often tie multiple units together in large diameter bins like the 60, 72, 105, 132 feet diameter bins that many of you are familiar with. Here's a look at our C100 and DPM 100 local displays in the center with another BinView screenshot to the left. The HMI in the upper right is another option for viewing data by using a 4-to-20 analog or an RS-45 output. I think I mentioned earlier that we're able to send the signals from the sensors to multiple locations, so you have that data where and when you need it. Here are the communication interfaces that I mentioned earlier that our development team has been hard at work on the last few years. Our Bin Cloud Gateway, shown to the left, can push your data to the cloud using an Ethernet connection, a cellular data plan, or a Wi-Fi connection. It has the ability to provide a Modbus output as well for HMI communication, or an Ethernet output for talking to the land-based BinVentory that I mentioned earlier. The lower wireless transceiver in the center can handle up to 2 4-to-20 analog inputs or 5 Modbus inputs, while also powering the sensors. So that's a really nice feature. That LoRa really can save you a lot of money on wiring costs, wiring and conduit costs. And then at the right, we have the analog expansion hub, which is sort of a consolidator. It can accept up to 16 4 to 20 analog signals while, again, also powering the sensors. And it offers an RS-485 output primarily for communication with our bin cloud gateway. One important point too is, we've been incorporating other brands of level sensors, even some things beyond level sensors into our communication system. So if you maybe recently purchased sensors that are working well, but you like our bin view offering or some of the displays and things that you've seen, we still want to work with you. And this is Jay Carter. He's our bin cloud support manager and apparently never passes on a photo opportunity. But Jake does a great job with the onboarding process for new customers, as well as providing live demos of the bin cloud site to prospective customers. Does a great job going through all the features and the customization. So if this is something that's of interest to you, we'll certainly be pulling Jake in to help us out. So you don't need an entirely new system, and I jumped the gun on this a few slides ago. But if you did something really crazy and you bought another brand of sensors, well, that's okay. We'd still love to work with you and incorporate those into our system, which is much easier now thanks to the communication modules that I just highlighted. And here's a schematic showing our NCR80 radar transmitters being pulled to the analog expansion hub that again will provide power to that loop. In addition to receiving that 4 to 20 signal. And then next we're out to the bin cloud gateway for the cloud-based communication with BinView. And this is, I mentioned earlier, pulling other brands of sensors or other instruments into our system. This is one we commonly use. There's so many loop-powered 4 to 20 units out there, and being able to pull that into our analog expansion hub to get the signal, and as I mentioned too, also power the units is a real nice feature. And don't worry about buying everything at once. Our systems are scalable, so you can start with a gateway and a few bins, and then add bins or add additional sites that can all be viewed in a summary screen in bin cloud, or in the customized views that I mentioned earlier. And here again are the NCR80 radar transmitters tied to the LoRa wireless transceiver, which is talking wirelessly to the bin cloud gateway. Again, the LoRa transceiver can save you lots of money on wiring, and we've had very reliable performance up to a mile away. Another good option too is you can wire the sensors directly to the bin cloud gateway on top of the bins or tanks, and then push the data to the cloud with a cellular plan or Ethernet if you happen to have that available up top. One question we regularly field is regarding sensor life. You can reasonably expect 10 plus years. Now that said, I talk to customers, it seems like once a week, that are using our old BinBob technology, which is over 20 years old. So a little bit of the service life just depends on the application, especially with the SmartBob technology, depends on how often you're dropping it. But yeah, 10 years is a very, very safe estimate for all the sensors that I talked about earlier. We provide software upgrades at no cost with the BinView subscription. And our development team is at work every day, adding or updating features, many of which are recommended by our customers. So we really welcome your feedback. Things that you notice on a day-to-day basis as you're working with the system. You think, hey, it'd be really neat if it had this, or I could do without this, or things like that. We're all ears, and we're small enough and nimble enough that we can make some changes on the fly. And here's another schematic. This is the one I think I just mentioned here, where the sensors are just wired directly to the gateway. In this case. And in this particular schematic here, as you can see, we've got that data going a couple different places. Bin Cloud Gateway is pushing into the cloud for BinView, and then we're going out to the local software inventory. And this, you might go this direction, just for example, if you need the 24/7 remote monitoring and maybe a PC at the plant showing levels for the operators, in an area that maybe you don't have internet access. We do have that option. And last but certainly not least, how much does this wonderful technology cost? And despite what I'm seeing on the screen here, the SmartBob non-contact radar and 3D level scanner actually are not free. Looks like we had a little hiccup with the slides here. But the SmartBob roughly is $2,000 per bin. The NCR80 radar is around $3,000, and the 3D level scanner is about $6,500. One caveat on the 3D level scanner, you may need multiple units per bin in the larger diameter applications that I mentioned earlier. As for the communication hardware, you're looking at around $595 for the gateway, $295 for the wireless LoRa transceiver, and $795 for the AEH or analog expansion hub. The BinView subscriptions, those are priced per gateway and per the number of sensors per site at $195 and $42 respectively. So that wraps up the BinMaster portion of today's webinar. I'll be back a little later for the Q&A session. Thanks again for your time. Feel free to reach out directly if we can be of assistance